I got I think I got like 4 or 5 news stories, and one of them we wasn't even a news story, but it's been an ongoing news story for a while. But we touched on it in the first episode, and I immediately wrote it down. I said, "This is too much, too good that
Okay.
I would love to talk to Ray about and get his opinion on this whole situation and what it could be and will it ever be, et cetera, et cetera." But in the world of music, as of late, we lost a true legend, Taylor Hawkins, the drummer of the Foo Fighters, and I guess it was like 6 months afterwards. Last month they did 2 tribute concerts, one over in London and one here in the States out in Los Angeles, and they were huge, huge events. Um, and there's been a tribute show that's been in the works supposedly now for um, over a year and a half since his passing. The legendary icon of the guitar, Mr. Edward Van Halen.
Oh.
So first off, let me ask you: were you a fan of Van Halen itself, or?
I was a worshiper. I was one of those guys. Like when I heard it, I first heard "Running with the Devil," and when you hear that, it just it's literally the backdrop of my teenage years. I think Van
Right.
Halen was a big part of it. It's just it's my it's it was in my it was in my music. It was my musical Rolodex. That's all I heard. I think when I was a kid, a lot of Van
Right.
Halen because it was so powerful. Because I'd never seen nothing like that. Well, first there's
Hmm.
Kiss, you
Hmm.
know, and funny enough, Gene Simmons is the one that discovers Van Halen. But still, it's like yeah, I was a big Eddie fan. I was the kind of guy that would argue with you at a party about Eddie Van Halen because that was a big thing. You ran the kegger and you talking shit, and someone would say, "Oh, well, fuck that Jimmy Page," and like Eddie's the shit, man. It's just I was one of those guys, and I could talk Eddie Van Halen off. Of course, I worship Van Halen, man.
That's awesome.
It was
That's funny you say that though, because it was just like the same for me. Like in like those high school years at the keg parties and stuff like that. It was especially in the '80s. It was that talk of music and everything that was going on, and it turned into arguments over who was the better band, who was the better guitar player.
and going to a Van Halen show was like it was like going to an event. It was like going to the circus. You're watching the circus.
Yeah,
David Lee Roth was P.T. Barnum, and Eddie's flying around, and Michael's flying around, and Alex was flying around behind the kid. It was just like it was a really primal event. I mean, you went to we had a place down here called the Hollywood Sportatorium in Fort Lauderdale, and
okay,
it would turn into one big primal organism, and they would hit and open up with, I think it was like Atomic Punk, and it messed up my teen years in a sense that was like, oh, I have to be in a band now because this is a cool thing to do. I must be in a band that has a party vibe, and I need to drink beer as much as possible, take every drug as much as possible. That was the bad side of it. But Van Halen was a big part of our youth, man.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's still kind of crazy, that the world lost Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
So there's been talk and rumors and rumblings coming out of the Van Halen camp now, especially the last 6 months. It really broke that there was a tribute show in the works. There was talks, but it was going to be. It
Really?
sounded like it was going to be Alex, naturally, Michael Anthony, and Dave and Sammy, but on guitar was going to be Joe Satriani, which I didn't get. I didn't understand. Yeah, I was kind of the same thing. Like, I didn't
None of that
understand
works.
that.
The only way it works is if Wolf gets involved,
Thank
and that
you.
becomes a genuine thing. Because number one, he inherited the catalog from his dad. Imagine that, to have that kind of catalog. It's like Ziggy Marley inherits all of Bob Marley's stuff and gets to go play it. But I think Wolf.
Right.
I don't know the guy, but he seems to be like very a lot of integrity. Where he's like, I'm not going to do my dad's music because it's already been done. I'm going to do my own thing now because I'm talented too.
Sure.
So I think because I love to celebrate. I would love to celebrate Van Halen music in that way. But once again, we talked about this last time. If I've seen something in its prime, I don't want to see a diluted, watered down version of it. Having
Okay.
Wolf in it is kind of like the genuine article. You know,
Yeah.
he could even sing this stuff. Because the guy's a great singer. You know, I would love to see. You know, it's good. I think the idea of a tribute's cool, and I hope they would they would do that, because you already had the Taylor Hawkins thing.
Yeah.
And you don't want it to be like, oh, let's do this, a tribute for Eddie, a tribute for this, and so it's like, I'm a fan of the idea, but it's a little weird for me. Seeing Van Halen as a kid in their prime so many times. I just, we talked about the whole tribute thing last time. Things get watered down, but
Yeah.
I'll repeat myself. If Wolfie does it, it seems like it would make sense, because he's inherited the catalog. He has the right to do that.
Did you see Wolfie play VH at the Taylor Hawkins shows?
Oh yeah,
Dude.
He's
I mean, come on.
Tone, note for note, just it's in his DNA. Some kids, they don't want to be like their dads.
Yeah.
Your dad's an asshole, but Eddie's your dad. From what I gather, he seemed like he's a great guy. So, I was in the room. I was in California at a club or something, and Eddie had entered the building. I didn't get to meet him, but it was just, I was like, oh my God, I'm in the room with Eddie Van Halen. You know what I mean? But go for it, Wolfie. Whatever.
Now, let me ask you this, because when I guess the last incarnation of Van Halen that had Wolfie instead of Michael Anthony, I was pissed and salty. I felt, Wolfie didn't deserve to be there. I'm like, why is not Michael there? Michael should be there. It should be the true four originals. Why are they not there? Right. And I like, I get all stuck up, and I'm like, I'm not supporting it. I'm boycotting it. I'm not going to go see them play.
Okay, but it was cool to see him play with the kid. I mean, look, you're on stage. There's Eddie, and there's his son. It was just a cool thing, I mean, I went, and I felt like a little 13-year-old girl going to see when they reunited, and I forgot what year it was, but it was cool, man. And I know some we call him Wolfie, like we've adopted him. Nobody calls him that, but yeah, man, it's Van Halen. I mean, look, I love the pure prime version of Van Halen. I love the David Roth era Van Halen. That's a whole other topic too, but I'm a big fan of the David Lee Roth era.
We're going to save that topic for another show, Dave or Sammy.
Yeah, man, but I'm a Van Halen fanatic, man. Everything from the first album to the last album, every live show, there was nothing like it. They set the bar really high.
Yeah.
Van Halen came out, it was this new thing. It's not that we're reinventing the wheel, but it was, they were amazing live. There's this energy that they had because of David, just holding everybody's attention, and the way he would just, kind of like, it's like if Frank Sinatra could sing rock and roll and jump around, that was David Roth, really great style, persona, but just the way he organized everybody on stage, it was cool to watch. It was nothing like it in my time.
Now, the continuing on with this discussion of Wolfie, though, Wolfie is also he's a very outspoken person. He's not afraid to pull any punches. He tells exactly how he's feeling, unfiltered, and he'll tell whoever to go fuck themselves. He doesn't care, which I admire. But at first, again, I was still was in that salty mode against Wolfie. But when he came out with his album after Eddie passed, he won me over, because he stood on his own. He played guitar, he played bass, he played all drums. He did the whole album himself, sang, and that song "Distance" and the whole album in general is amazing. But that song "Distance" had me crying like a baby.
Yeah, man, real sentiment. I'm not the most sentimental cat, but I got it. And just when he played, I think it was on what late night show was he on? Was it Kimmel or something?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And he just blew everybody away, singing his ass off, playing. It used to be you had to look a certain way to be a rock star. Remember the word rock star? You had to be the skinny, drugged out looking motherfucker. And he's a very healthy gentleman. And he encapsulates all that. Great musician, great singer, great songwriter. And it's in his DNA apparently.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan. But once again, I love Mike, Alex, Eddie, and Dave. You know, so of course there was that whole year where they had the guy from Extreme.
Yes, Gary Sharon.
Just like, whoa, that was bad news, and he got shit on pretty well for that, you know. But you got to have a lot of balls to do that. How can you not be that? You know, you're joining Van Halen. Some things you just don't do. I'm a purist like you, but I understood Wolf playing with it. I dug it. It was cool.
I see, like, I get it more now. I came off my little pedestal, and I get it. And because I didn't have respect for Wolfie at first, but he gained my respect and earned it. And I truly get it now, and I truly have a lot of respect for the kid. It's crazy to even say kid because he's in his 30s now. But going back to this whole thing of tribute, do you think, like, especially after the Taylor Hawkins ones, do you think, you know, is this going to be like a new trend now? Like, I mean, there was one years ago, you know, when Freddie Mercury passed, there was an amazing one. I mean, there hasn't been a lot, but for some reason, I just got the vibe, like, is this going to be like the new trend when we lose legends now, or?
Well, I mean, why not? You know, and any excuse to have a loud concert, you know, and make it count. But it loses its I don't know the word I'm looking for. You know, the honesty of it. You know, do you do it because, okay, so you're really paying tribute? Is it just another show for everybody to jump on? You know what I mean? It's a fine line. You know, but between something being cool and then turning really hokey, it's like the MTVing of everything.
Yes, yeah.
Everything hokey and silly. You know, so ever since we haven't had the US Festival, we had Live Aid. You know, that moment when Queen hit and it's celebrated because they made a movie out of that moment. You know, those are big deals, man. You know, that whole like the event where there's thousands of people, all like-minded, all thinking the same thing, really united by something, and really that, you know, and it was more of a feeling, you know. I would like to do anything to get that back, you know. So if it takes a tribute to Taylor Hawkins, awesome, you know. But do we make it a thing? Maybe our generation will do that because we love our rock and roll, you know. So maybe it's a cool thing. I don't know if everybody can be afforded to do a concert in Wembley and then one in the States for everybody that passes.
Sure.
But I'm all for celebrating our icons because everybody's getting older.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to lose people. It's going to happen. We're all growing up with our icons. Yeah. You know, our generation love live rock and roll, organic live rock and rolls. We love, that's part of who we are. You know, so any chance to celebrate that we should do. As long as it doesn't get hokey and stupid. The MTVing of rock and roll was one bad thing, you know, but I liked, you know, Live Aid was great. You know, it brought everybody together. So music does do that.
It does.
So
it really does.
Find a way to do it without being hokey. And it's sad that we're actually going to lose people, you know, so maybe it should be like, you know, one concert, we lose maybe 5 or 6 and then do one. I don't know if it's going to be but the logistics of it, getting all the bands to participate. I don't know if they pay people or if they do it for free. I don't know what the deal is, but you know, I like that when everybody can focus on rock and roll for what it is, and it's a cool thing. We don't lose that.
Yeah, I like that.
Long-winded answer on that.
Well, it doesn't even sound like this whole tribute would ever come off the ground because Wolfie has come out and said also in the last few weeks after the Taylor Hawkins tributes that the Van Halen camp is just too dysfunctional to get it together to do something like that.
There's too much drama. You know, it's like when people go to the Hall of Fame, you know, certain band members show up, certain band members don't. You know, we know about the drama with, you know, with them and Dave, with them and Sammy and Dave,
right?
You know, and his wife, all the other shit that goes on, you know. But just to celebrate the band's music, that's all that matters. You know, it's like Michael Jackson, right? He went through all that shit, but I love Michael Jackson music.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't care about, you know, I can separate the music from the artist.
Right.
Some people can't do that. So
exactly.
Coming back to tributes, I think, you know, to musicians, I think if the musician was a great person and people loved him as a person, should be given tribute.
Exactly.
If you're an asshole and you're a great musician, then you don't get no tribute.
Right. Who's going to want to pay tribute to that person?
Assholes in our lifetime. That's going to be our new cause. Let's fight assholism. Stop it.
Uh,
The assholes we're fighting about.
okay, so let's